thank you so much. This means so much to us. Thank you so much for coming. And the first session, I want us to be quite interactive. So the microphone is going to be moving around. Because most times, we are used to being spoken to, okay? We expect that someone is going to stand here and give you point by point while you write, and while you get into the jam and the fracas of getting into a taxi or driving out or doing what, everything evaporates, okay? So what we are going to do is we are going to learn together. Yes, I will have a session where I give you what I prepared, but I know that you have answers inside of you. When we talk about showing up, speaking up, and standing out, okay? I want to understand how you understand what it means to show up. What does it mean to show up? And there is no right or wrong answer, but I need you to be able to re-echo it to me, how you understand it. Let's have the microphone move. Please, hands up. What does it mean to show up? If someone says, show up.
Making your presence felt.
Making your presence felt. Someone is saying, show up. Okay? Because when you show up, people see that you have. So making your presence felt. Okay? Let's another.
Now, like when you invite me,
yes,
Nina okuja joli to respect your
yes,
invitation.
yes,
yeah. But if you invite me and I don't turn up, that means I've not showed up.
Yes,
I have not respected. I have not admitted.
In other words, you didn't come.
Thank you.
I think showing up is like you show up even when you feel you're not ready or you've not prepared enough. You don't wait for the right time. Let me first get the skills. Let me first train. But you show up and you do your best.
Wow. So that means even if it's a job and you say, you know what, they called for this job, they called for interviews, or they called for someone who wants a job, let me show up. If I learn on the job, I learn on the job. If I don't know certain things, I will acquire them. I don't have to wait until I am ready. I have been given an invitation, and so I will show up. That's beautiful.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think showing up means I identify where I need to show up. I take the step and commit to being there, that no matter what stands in my way, whether it means crawling, I will get there.
Ooh, I love that. You know, what I felt when she was speaking, that some of us show up haphazardly. You show up, and when something intimidates you, you take a step back. So that means you're getting into a relationship, but you're like, if things get bad, I'm going to just take my hand out. You know, I'm getting into a marriage, but anytime I take, if my boss becomes toxic, and there's a way we name everything narcissistic these days. If my boss is narcissistic and toxic, then I will get out of the job. And it feels like we are doing other people a favor by showing up, and yet we are doing ourselves a favor by showing up. And that you get in there and decide that, you know what, I have come and I am not going away. So if you have a problem with me, take it on with my supervisor. If you have a problem with me, go to my God. If you have a problem with me, as in find somewhere else you can report, but I am not leaving. Insult me, accuse me, do anything that you want, do all the drama, but I will dust off and show up tomorrow. And who will lose? Half the time, the other person will be jeering, Chirabe. Because when people do certain things, they expect you're just going to give up. They underestimate the power, your power to endure and your power to stand still and see the salvation of God. So they're like, we are going to rock this boat. And when they rock the boat, the cowards jump out. And those that are strong, they will stand still. Right? We have a response here. Let's take this. Oh, okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Anne.
Showing up to me means making a deliberate decision to get better in order to impact others.
Making a deliberate decision. Some of us show up, and we will talk about it somewhere, but some of us show up because of crisis. Do you know how crisis can push you into showing up into something? All of a sudden, something has happened, and you have no option but to show up or to do something because you were too poor and you're like, now I'm just going to look for something to do. Why? You were not deliberate, because if you had been deliberate, you would never wait until you are too poor or until you have lost the last coin. Then, do you know there are people who are like that? when they get some money, they chill and they spend and they chop life. And then when the money gets finished, that's when they think about getting the next job. So it's a deliberate, a willful choice that you do, backed up with willingness to make sure that you show up. Now, the next question is going to be, why don't we show up?
Yeah, sometimes we don't show up because we are overwhelmed with our own situations as well.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I wish I brought gifts. You know, that is one of the last things that people will think about. People will have other excuses for not showing up, but they will never admit to overwhelm. They will never admit. So everyone write down overwhelm, because we have to be able to break down what overwhelm means in this generation. Overwhelm leads to meltdown. Because overwhelm is, you have so many things. It's a state of your mind where you become hopeless, where you cannot function, where you are frozen, and where you cannot take any single action, even showing up. Because showing up takes a will. Showing up is a decision that you make. But when you are overwhelmed and you lack the hope and you are frozen, and has anyone ever feared? All of us have to have ways we respond to fear. Now, some of us, when something shocks you, you cannot run. And then some of us, when something shocks you, you run without even knowing where it's coming from. So now, so many of us, when we are in that state of overwhelm, we become frozen. You stand still, and by the way, it's very possible that you will go to work every day. It's very possible you will put on every day. You will even put on makeup. You will even put on your pant. You will even put, as in, you will look like you are okay, but there is a certain confusion that is in your mind, a certain frozen state that is in your mind, that when you get to work, you open a laptop and you cannot type even a single word. You look at a customer and you feel like you're bothering me. Can you leave me alone? So when we talk about overwhelm, I still want to get other before we dive into, because I really want us to talk about that, because it's something that is holding us back.
Fear.
Fear.
Not believing in ourselves to step up when something happens, and
Wow.
us listening to people about what they are saying. They say, let's say you're starting a business, in case it fails, you listen to what they're saying. This person tried it and it never worked out. So listening to third parties tend to put us down a lot, and not believing in ourselves, raising our heads high.
Fear, discouragement, comparison, listening to other people. We fail to show up because someone said that business did not work out, or that marriage will not work out, or that relationship will not work out, or whatever it is. You're trying to lose weight. These days, everything they are telling you is just not going to work out. So you stay in your own zone of nothing happening, and yet you want things to happen. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Wow. I hope you're noting those things down, because we are all alike, right?
At times, attitude makes us fail to show up.
Attitude fails us, or it hinders us from showing up. You know attitude? We've talked about attitude so many times when we talk about the success tables, and we say attitude is a choice. So if your attitude is influenced by what we've already thought about, or the biases that we have formulated. So do you know that someone can fail to show up here in this event and say, you know what, but what are they going to say? Kati bagenda tugamba ki? Bagenda tugamba ki kye tutamanyi? Naye ayogera bagenda tugamba ki kye tutamanyi? They are overwhelmed, they are depressed, but they just don't know that is not a state. Because sometimes when you're overwhelmed and depressed, you think it's a normal state of mind. So because you can still function, some functions of you can still function. So you can still get a little bit of a profit. You can still limp in that relationship. You can still limp in bringing up your children. You can still limp in that career, okay? You're not valuable, but again, maybe no one is seeing it, or they have not mastered the courage to even chase you from your workplace. So you're still limping around, you're showing around, but you in in the actual sense, you are not fulfilled. You are not fulfilled. And that's a very bad state of living. So attitude is very crucial.
Thank you so much. I had to note it down. If I look back in the days I never showed up, it was because I felt I wasn't important. So most of us, sometimes we feel like you're not important, you don't matter to this world, you're not good enough, so you feel like you are waiting for another person to remind you how you are beautiful, how you are capable. So, and it's the nurture sometimes, and nurturing. Some of you have grown up with people who have always told you, you'll never make it, or circumstances. So you feel like you are already defined, you are already in a cage, you are already in a box. So you feel like, me to show up, they told me I will never make it. So if you were divorcee, you're like, what can I talk about relationships? I already failed. So you'll never show up in that circle. If maybe it's a job you failed, you're like, I'm not competent. So all those things will hinder you from showing up. And back to the first question, when I showed up, when I felt like I am important, like, come on, now today I am important to this country. I am important to my family. I'm important to my friends.
Bring it on.
So I am important to this nation. So I show up unapologetic.
Unapologetic is the word. I show up unapologetic. I'm important to this country. So debate it if you want. Debate it like in your head. Go ahead and debate it. Tulabe, if your debate is going to hinder my importance to myself and to my country, sometimes we give a lot of importance to other people's thoughts and other people's words instead of mastering who we are and knowing whose we are and what our worth is and what we are supposed to do and what our truth is. Because my truth is never going to be your truth. Hello? It's never going to be. It's never going to be your truth. My, oh my. Do you see why we don't show up? Because we feel less important. You want to impact the world, you look for people who are impacting the world. No gamba obankukwata kasinziro kankukwata kasinziro naye tugenda fenna. Sikuleka. Let me tell you, ebintu ebimu, we should not wait for invitations. Some show-ups don't need invitations or require invitations. Sometimes is okolo lugezigezi and you show up and you see what happens. Go show up or sidike. One. Show up. Omanyenga bwe weyingiza mu kitwo kyesonse kamu n'otuula n'osookola babagamba batya. Bangoba tebangoba. Let me tell you, even if it's for my courses, if you ever walked to Media Plaza, even if you've not paid for a course, no one is going to take you out. You will sit, listen, and after that, our administrators will find out whether you want to join the course, and they will give you all the options, and we will even give you all the free options of the contents that we have. Why? Because you showed up, we deem you so important that we cannot lose you. By the time you showed up, you have a hunger for something, and we are there to give it to you. Okay? So, why don't you show up?
The reason why you fail to show up is everything depends on decision. If you fall down and you keep in your mud down there, you remain there. But once you rise up and you start moving, you find your true destiny. So decision is a determinant factor why most people don't show up.
So we fail to make decisions. And for those of you that missed our series on decision making, go to YouTube and find them. How to make better decisions. What decisions? We have quite a series of decision making. Make sure that you go to Bahati Hilda Sabiti, and that's very powerful because showing up is a decision. You decide and you know what? Enough is enough. I am getting out of here. We have a hand here. Fear of commitment.
Fear of commitment and accountability.
Fear of commitment.
The future, you know, thinking, oh, this is going to fail, oh, it's not going to work out.
Back then, and the Hilda now, it's because that Hilda accepted to commit to the journey that she didn't know where it was going. Yes, did she fear uncertainty that things might not work out? Yes, I feared that. But I was like, what's the worst that can happen? Because where I am, I don't like. Where I am going, I don't know. But the faith in me says, take the first step, put another foot in front of another, put another foot in front of another, show up, as in, go, be courageous. Guys, you should be able to hold yourself accountable. Ngana kakati Hilda kati tutuze meeting. Hilda ne Bahati ne Sabiti mutule wano. Kati chichi dale chakulemeseza, like to do why did you fail? Because sometimes we cannot be open to anyone. That is why we build communities. That is why we call you for Hold My Hand annual membership, where we want to hold your hand. And right now we have made it an annual membership because we want you to pay a fee and commit to it. So that when kugamba, why didn't you show up? You don't put your mouth in the nose and say njagazachi. Mugamba, you paid your money is going to haunt you. Tujja kugoberera, tujja kunoonya, kiki ekigenda maaso. We are not seeing you, you're not growing. Okay? So you realize there are so many things. Now I'll not even ask about speaking up. I'll not even ask about standing out, because you realize that the same excuses that we are going to give and the same reasons that we are going to give. But are those reasons going to make us better? Are they? So that means success and excuses do not move together. You either push the feather of success that has the hard work, that has the commitment, that has the showing up, okay? Or you push it down deliberately and say, you know what? I am pushing up the one for success. The one for success has commitment, but the one for excuses, there you fail effortlessly. Wali olabyeko omuntu agwa nga tafubye nnyo. Ngo ogwa like tofuba nnyo oserera buserezi n'ogenda. Naye okuyimuka olina okwekwata, olina okulaba oba weewekutte weewo. Sometimes weewekutte kayinjo oba kapapajjo kanaatera okugwa and you're like nina okunoonya ewalala. Oluusi w'oyimiridde era wakyaseerera. I told you about it. I think Tim has told this story so many times where he fell. And when he fell, he looked left, right, and center to see oba waliwo amulabye. Nagezaako okuyimuka amangu n'oba kisebo. No doubt. You know, so even success has calculative moves. But I want us to talk about overwhelm. I want us to talk about one of the things that I really felt on my heart to talk about today was overwhelm. Okay? Because we are overwhelmed in so many arenas of life and so many areas of life. And I want us to run through it very quickly before I even ask so many questions. You realize that when we come here, we have said that we commit to not sinking, to not surviving, but to thriving. Okay? Because when God comes, he says that I came to give you life and life in abundance. So that means abundance means good, thriving, and flourishing. It does not mean surviving and sinking. Some of us are living our lives while sinking. Okay, and we just don't know how to catch ourselves mid-air. And the worst condition, recently I was reading some tabloids, and someone was saying, it was actually an anxiety expert, and he was saying that, you know what, these days we think depression and we think that anxiety are the ruling things that are really killing people and are strangling people's dreams. But again, there is a word languishing that he introduced, and I had never taken time. I know what the word languishing means, but I had never taken time to understand what the word languishing means. And when I actually went ahead and to look for more information about languishing, I could see that it's the same as overwhelmed, being overwhelmed, okay? And so when you are overwhelmed, just like we said, it's a state of being frozen. It's a state of lack of focus. It's a state of sometimes you can be frozen, but when you're still taking on many projects. Have you ever seen someone who is scattered? They are taking on many projects. They are doing this, and then wewe gamanti hakati enkoko ez'amagi zikola nnyo. N'ateekawo ez'amagi. Aba akyali mu kkubo ne bamugamba naye vanilla yakola. N'agamba oba ntunda enkoko oba nkole ntya. Ogenda okulaba nga ekyaki. N'agamba kanfune mama wange muteeke mu nkoko, let me go to vanilla. N'agenda mu vanilla. Nemala ne bamugamba kati beeyi ya vanilla yagudde, kilo eri ku ssente bwe ziti. N'agamba naye waliwo akafuna. You know silk, okulunda obusaanyi. N'amala. There are people, why? They don't have a sense of focus. They are overwhelmed, but they just don't know it that they are overwhelmed. So you realize that that state is very dangerous to be in. And I just wanted to read it, that it's the condition of someone who may be able to function, but has lost a sense of hope and meaning. Has lost a sense of hope and meaning. When you lose the meaning of life, that is where you see people depressed. That is where you see people languishing. That is where you see people committing suicide. That is where you see people giving up on their own lives. At first, they will give up on other people's lives, and then with time, they will give up on their own lives. And then, languishing is not the presence of depression. It is the lack of vitality and the weariness of the soul. That means your soul is dead. Your soul is dead. It's not alive. Have you ever seen someone who is bubbly and laughing? You know, they're even contagious. When you see someone who is happy, you also become happy. There is a tendency of you becoming happy. But now when that vitality goes away, that whatever seemed, have you ever been at a party and you cry instead of laughing? I don't know if that has happened to you, but it has happened to me. You know, because you look at other people's successes and then you're like, but what does my life even have a meaning? Can I ever even be this happy? Why are even other people happy in the first place? Why are other people happy? How many of us that even scrolling through social media annoys you? Thank you very much. You're being very honest. I like that. It annoys you. No laba couple goals no gamba kakati aha. Kati olo tukole tutia. Katolofa batalina. Oyo no mo unfollowing. Let me tell you, enugu yafe ne overwhelm. Ejatu chaisa abantu betu taina kuchawa. But that happens. That is the reality of life. Why? Because we have lost meaning. When you see the rich people, you're like abo balogo. Basala bantu ne balioka bakola chi? Waliwo minister gwe nali ngamba recently, actually it was Rose Namayanja. Ne mugamba okimanyi bwe mubeera ku nguudo nga mutambula n'obutala bwammwe obyo tururu tugamba mubbi ki gwe bayisizaawo. She laughed. She wanted to get under the table. She was like, what? I was like, yes, half the time we are saying mubbi ki oyo gwe bayisizaawo. Why? Because sometimes when things are not going well in your life and you're overwhelmed, you see other people's successes. Ng'okwekoza, ng'okweraga, ng'okwemanya, ng'ababbi, ng'okweyisaako, kati olwo tukole tutya, beeraga nnyo, bama babagamba batimbe buli kimu. Ng'oli wekka nno, wekka, alone, with your phone, but you are quarreling with your phone. So I want us to just have this as a statement in our mind that languishing and overwhelm are normal, but be an exception that they are normal. They are not normal to you. I want you to take it and know and confess it and affirm it and say, they are not normal to me. Because when you accept something, have you ever accepted something and it just becomes part of your life? Because you just accepted it. So you think, I don't think I will amount to anything. Before you know it, you're not amounting to anything. But the day you say, you know what, I am important. Let me show up. Let me do something different than I have been doing. So you realize that just your decision, that just the flip in your mind to show up and do something, changed everything. Why? Because you just took a decision. And now when you talk about the overwhelming, what causes the overwhelming feeling? What causes the overwhelming feeling?
Yes, I think it's lack of direction.
Lack of direction. Lack of direction. You're in a place, and let me tell you, it is not your fault that you lack direction. But the moment you get to understand and pinpoint that my problem at this point is I lack direction, can I be able to walk to a place where I can actually ask for direction? You know, when you're driving or even just walking to a place, even if you're using a boda and you don't know the direction, the moment it dawns on you, by the way, simanyi jengenda, let me go to the petrol station or even let me just stand at the boda stage and ask for. But it comes out of admitting that I don't know where I am going. And chances are, it's possible that you have ever been there. Some of us have ever been successful and maybe something happens, we tripped. Okay? Or some of us have ever held some good money. Or some of us have ever been in good relationships. Or some of us, and something happened. So now you're like, I know how to get myself there. They know in their heart, they have something more. They have that unsettled feeling for more. But they just don't know how to unveil it. Now, when they came into my circle and signed up for the mentorship, the amount of clarity, as in one by one, because that was not my intention. My intention is I'm sharing all my knowledge, everything I have learned from the time I started creating this business to where I am passing on to whoever is willing to take on this knowledge and to impact the next generation. Now, for me, I didn't do it because I wanted people to tell me how far they have gone. But let me tell you, one by one, of all the more than 400 people has said one thing: I found clarity. I found a sense of direction. You locked me in a direction and I started running with a lot of clarity towards something that I feel fulfilled. That when they invite me on radio, I know what to say. When they invite me on TV, when I go for speaking engagements, where I even know how to price myself, I know how to put on and look good. Guys, have you seen Mama Christine with the way she's moving around the world? Have you? When you see her dancing, when you see, as in she's full of life, to the extent I told her to do a course just to teach others how to maintain their vitality and just to keep young and glowing and happy. It doesn't mean that she has no issues of her own. No. But it means that she chooses how she shows up in the world every day. This is the who you are going to see. I am not going to show you my problems. I am not going to show you my baggage. I will show you who I want you to see. And let me tell you, she's impacting nations. She is. When you see her moving around the world and impacting people, when you see her going to TVs and speaking engagements, these days, whoever sees, because people have seen her with me so many times, whenever they see a poster of her, they send it to me. And I'm like, yeah, she's doing it, you know. And so many people. It is so important. So important, because one of the things that causes overwhelm is because katindi masanganzira. I'm at the crossroad. I don't know. Do I take right? Do I take left? I'll just agala kwebuzaako. Kati ngogamba manyi, let me take left. Do you remember olugero lwa Wakaima? Do you remember? Wakaima yali in the crossroad. Eno bafumba something, neno bakolachi, there is another party. And so she's thinking, ngende eno nga wawunya bulungi, walio pirao, walio ngende eno. He spent the whole day in the crossroad. And then, after that, by the time he went to any of the places, everything was done. So that's what happens. Some of us, we get to our 60s, to our 70s with lack of fulfillment. But why? When we were 20 and when we were 30, we never locked in our true direction. We never understood God's calling upon our lives. Yes, Mama Diana, let's have a microphone behind there. We never locked in our direction. So if you're here and you don't know why you were created, I want you to find out. If it means asking, if it means inboxing me, if it means getting one of the coaches around, make sure that you find out the reason as to why you were created. Let me tell you, your life will never be the same. Again, it will never. Does it mean that all problems will vanish? No, they will not vanish. But you will have a sense of direction and a reason to wake up every day. Yes, please.
I just wanted to add something small that I struggled with for a while. And it was ignorance.
Yes.
Of the season that I was in my life. And one, I was ignorant of who I was and what God was saying on my life. Even after knowing, I never sought to know what season I was in. And so I started behaving that like those who are in preparation and harvesting. And then I got overwhelmed. Sometimes it is very important, most of the times, it is important that you acknowledge that I am in a preparation or I am in a childbearing season. And you do and find information of what the people in that particular season do. Otherwise, you get overwhelmed. Because you literally put on shoes of people who are in a different season, and you find that the shoes either burn you or they don't fit you. And when they burn you, you get hurt and you can't move on. And when they don't fit you, you start going backwards. You limp. and then you study the book of Lamentations properly and you master it. And you get overwhelmed. I went through that. And it is very important, friends, that you identify the season you are in. Even if it's just workplace, Coach Bahati teaches it, everyone around. You are in your 20s, what do the people in the 20s do? You're in your 50s, what do the people in the 50s? What season of your life are you in? Can you gather information?
Ooh, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I love you. I love you, Mama Diana. Thank you so much. That is really, really, really impactful. Find out the season of your life. And when she was telling me today that she watched the video about stop or kill comparison, and she tells me that it blessed her. I mean, we are in different seasons. We are all in different seasons, but find out which season you are in and the things that you must be able to do. And that is where you can plug in a growth space where you can be able to know that, by the way, abalala baveko let's go step by step. If we need to evaluate, if we need to do what, let's do it, but make sure that you are growing. So you realize that the lack of direction, not knowing our seasons, and we are overwhelmed financially, we are overwhelmed professionally because of the things that we don't know, the things that we fear, the misinformation that we have gotten, okay? And then we just don't know. Let me tell you. Do you know that we have duality in us? The duality is you have another person in you that is you. It's like a twin. I want you to be very honest that sometimes you've ever felt good about someone winning and then you feel bad at the same time. Like, it's natural. No one should say, no, there is that duality inside of us that sometimes never lets us make a sober decision. Because to make a sober decision, then that your twin that is more cautious and more pro-growth and more pro-success and significance is the one that must be able to fully articulate. But do you know that sometimes you want to be good, but this other twin is saying, no, we are not doing good today. I want to love on people. No, we are not loving them today. No, we must be able to pray and give these problems to God. Now, not today. God is delaying. We will give him tomorrow. Today to be a malidi. Like, seriously, there is always a fighting factor inside of us. And that thrives in overwhelm. When you're overwhelmed, that twin of yours, the ugly twin, wins. Yeah. When you're overwhelmed, that is when bojokolo lugambo. Overwhelming, that is when you will gossip. That is when that is when you will see, as in everything bad, everything good, you will twist it. Your eyes will see it differently. Now, if you were not overwhelmed, if you found your space, if you knew your direction, if you knew that I must run in this race, I am not competing with anyone, you realize that sometimes when a person comes to me to tell me about another person, they're actually wasting my time. Like, literally, they are wasting my time. And half the time, now they know it. Some of them, when they come, because we're time wasters, we're Jobamanya, right? And you know them. So this is what happens. I will have my earplugs near me. And you know, I can't work when you open the case for the ear sets, when you open it, and then you fumble with it, you play with it, and then after that, no jamaka okutukamu, no katekamu, no jamaka okubidi, no katekamu, as in you're telling them, time up. I don't have time. I am actually busy. I'm in the business of people developing. I'm not in the business of pulling people down. Those two things cannot dwell together. They can't. The other is a time waster. It's possible that twin was there some time back, but right now they don't have a thriving place. Why? Because I am not overwhelmed. Okay? So I want us to go very quickly. If you don't want to be overwhelmed, or how to get out of overwhelm, is number one, evaluate your priorities. Evaluate your priorities. When we were talking about decision making, I said that where your values are clear, your decisions are easy to make. Because your decisions come out of the values that you already have. If you're saying, I am trustworthy, when the time comes for you to make a decision of whether to take corruption or not, you will stand by your values and say, this is clear. You will not say, let me sleep on it. Let me call you back tomorrow, see whether we'll take that bribe. No. When someone suggests it, even if they pass a hand, you will say, no, thank you. I will do it because I am here to do the work. I will not do it because you bribed me. Because your values are clear, your decision is easy. So you realize when you evaluate your priorities, okay, and know what comes first. What do I want to come first? I have all these things that I want to do. I am overwhelmed. And sometimes you're overwhelmed because you're multi-talented. Do you know there are people who are multi-talented? And they get overwhelmed because then they know everything and they want to do everything. So when you come to the mentorship, that is why we tell you, choose one thing. And even if you chose the wrong thing, the right thing will supersede the wrong thing that you have chosen. But once you master that one thing and go in the direction, it's easy to nurture the right thing when you get to know it. Because if you nurture two things, you cannot walk in two things at the same time. One of them will die, and chances are your main calling will actually die. So I want you to be able to evaluate your priorities and say, in this season of my life, my family comes first. In this season of my life, while I am nurturing a young family, my weekend belongs to my family. So it's easy for me to even turn down some speaking engagements on Saturdays. Someone calls me and I'm like, no, this is even when we work in the same office, by the way. I will prioritize my time with him more than anything else. I'll be like, no, on Saturday we are going to drive around town with my husband. Like seriously. Isn't that what we do sometimes? I'm like, in my heart, I'm like, I am like a young girl who is excited to drive around town, just pick a coffee somewhere, just walk somewhere, as in, and hold hands, ice cream, just, yeah. So because that is a priority in my life, there are so many things I'm going to turn down. There are some people who invite me, and I'm like, you know what? Go to Mr. Sabiti. If he accepts, I will be there. Why? Because I prioritize him. If he accepts, that means I'm going to be there with him. I think Masanyu yalaba nange. Bwe mugamba gende, naye kakati ansindise gy'oli ngamba ddayo. Bw'akkiriza nja kubaayo. Bw'atakkiriza. So you know what your priority is, okay? If you know that this season of my life, I am grooming my career, I'm finding clarity. Is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Sometimes that's what we think about it, and then we think about it some more tomorrow, and that is when we think about it, we don't have any journal, we don't even write it anywhere, we don't follow it, and before you know it, you've spent a whole year not knowing what you are doing, but you are showing up every day. And when the customers come, when the clients come, because you are a receptionist, you have the audacity of looking them from up to down, and you have the audacity of putting your mouth in the nose, and you have the audacity of telling them, do you have an appointment? In a weird way. Because it's different when you say, okay, you're here to see who? Mr. Sabiti? Okay, we can only be seen on appointment. Do you have an appointment? No, bichi, but please find out from him. And then someone will call. And sometimes the bosses in office, they are counting on that relationship. That person just chose to show up, but he's an important person. So don't just chase them away. No, but without an appointment, you can't see him. No, find out whether the boss wants to see him. So you realize, and sometimes we have outgrown. Do you know sometimes you're overwhelmed because you have outgrown where you are? Entondo nezimera. No uliranga buli omuto chayagala mulabako. You have outgrown where you are. Nemirimu gye bakwagikunyiza ne bosi wa kunyiza bwo mutunuliro yagala kutunule as in buli kimu kikunyiza. Sometimes, yes, by the way, we even outgrow some churches. Woli, yes, but buli babulira bikunyiza. Buli bolaba ayambadde akusunsudde akaviri akatunuza waggulu oyo talina mwoyo. Bw'otunuulira omusumba nga oyo talina mafuta. As in, you have the meters for everything. You're measuring everyone. Who gave you the right? Lwaki tewemulula mu katono nga bwe bagamba on gundi, I think it's which app is that, where they say exit silently, please. Better nga ate abaddewo, do not make kelele. And why they are going, ate abantu bwe batyo bw'aba agenda ayagala ayogere asambagale buli omu, abo tebalina mafuta. Bwe baba tebalina mafuta kitegeere mu mutima gwo, kati gwalina amangi, genda onoonye gye gali, totutawaanya. Some of us are concentrating. Some of us are running after our God. Some of us have a zeal to grow. But when you come and tell us, oh, that pastor did this, that leader did this, that is none of my business. I am here to grow. I am not here to pull down anyone. So be careful. You know, when you are overwhelmed, be careful not to rub that overwhelm to anyone. And be careful not even take it to your home. Be careful not even to take it to your children. And let me tell you, the good husbands are the ones who suffer with women who are overwhelmed. She outgrew that workplace. She's quarreling with everyone. And when she comes to the husband, ate omuntu ali overwhelmed. Bw'aba ayogera nawe ye yeewoomereza, abalala babizza. Yeah, they blackmail everyone else. Everyone is bad. They will give you a twisted story and you will believe it, and they have words. So I don't want you to be that person. Prioritization is very, very, evaluate your priorities, and then number 2, you prioritize. After evaluating, prioritize your health, your spiritual life, your marriage, your career, your children, yourself. Don't forget about yourself. Make sure that you prioritize yourself, okay? Because we do not overcome overwhelm passively. We must be engaged. We must be in the moment and we must be involved, okay? And then don't just wait and say things will get better. You know, a poverty mindset, when you watch Telemundo and it's like a young, beautiful, poor girl who is loved by the rich man. So some girls also think I must be poor in order for some rich guy to come. That is why most of the girls are betega, baja kubeera batayagala kola. Kubanga yalinze, I want Mr. Right to come and sweep me off my feet. Let me tell you, the Mr. Rights that are in this place, they know who to go to and who not to go to. Tebajja kulonda kubo olwokuba weeteze nti olwokuba oli mulungi ate ng'oli mwavu. Don't even get me started, because if I start talking about that mindset, I will take long. But let's go to number 3, eliminating decommitting. Some of us are overcommitted. You overcommit to everything. You are the rescuer. You are the savior of everyone. We want to make a birthday cake. Can you bake for us? Can you bring for us this? Can you be Kugamba? You have become an errand boy and errand girl for everyone. You are committing to everything. Aba family bakumanyi bwotuuka awo yajja kunyiga amatoke, yajja kola nekiri, yajja kwasa n'enku, yajja kugamba gwe bakumanyi. Let a day come, you shock them. I'm not teaching you bad manners, but you shock them, you tell them, omanyi nze nja kusala salad. Bagambe nze geninamu amaanyi olwaleero ga kusala salad, olabe bwe bakugoba mu kika. Because sometimes people will not know that we are overwhelmed. But tugatteko ebyabwe. And then, on top of that, buli ogenda yagamba kati oyo tafumbirwanga, kati oyo yalina amagulu bwe gati, kati oyo yakola ki mu town. Ntera nnyo omulaba ku mutimbagano nga yeeraga. Ntera nnyo omanyi abatalina byakola emboozi ze babeeramu. And then after that, poor woman, you have overworked yourself, you have not even eaten, you go to bed frustrated, and then you even abuse some people. Do you know some people, when a meltdown comes, because overwhelm leads to a meltdown, I told you, a meltdown comes, you are not in control of yourself. You will end up putting them in their place and telling them the truth that you were not supposed to tell them. The bitter things that you were not supposed to. You will tell them, mind your business. Omusajja tebamunkako bate wakolayo supermarket yakumuno nayo. Wanji? Ate nabyonoonye, mbu naawe wavaayo. Onabyonoonye. No. Now that is meltdown. That is unacceptable. Okay? That means you have to control yourself. So eliminate the things. People who have called me during Christmas, they are very, very overwhelmed. And they're like, you know what? I want to go to the village, and I'm like, let's evaluate. Why are you going to the village in the first place? Because I'm used to going there every. And I'm like, is it a must? Sorry? I'm used to that. Like, yeah, because it's been like something that we do every end of year. And I'm like, must you go this time? But again, tebalye. Nchaka kati bagenda kunda babubi people pleasing eze. Bakati bagenda kunda babubi. Nengo chimanyi when you appear like this, there are people that you just don't want to see. You don't want to hear their comments. You don't want to, you get it? And you know that you're going to that village only to see your mother. And I've told some of them, you know what? Go on the 23rd. Be with your mother the whole day. Umugambe, I'm not going to come. Stay in your apartment. Load your movies and not Netflix. Eat and raise your legs. Thank God that you exist. Or accept an appointment that a friend gives you. Let's go for a coffee. Let's go for a chat. Protect your peace at all costs. Your soul is important. But we have been told so many things in the world, but we have never been told how to protect our souls, because the Bible says, guard your heart, from out of it comes the issues of. Now, if from out of it comes the issues of life, and you find yourself that from your heart, there is only overwhelm and anxiety and all the bad things, that means you're not guarding your heart enough, okay? So, decommit, eliminate so many things, okay? You're not supposed to be everyone's friend. I refuse to be loyal to something that does not matter anymore. Some of us must outgrow certain things. Refuse to be loyal, even if it's to a friendship that does not matter anymore, okay? So, do elimination. Number 4, make sure that you organize. Some of us get overwhelmed because we are not organized. Organize, reorganize according to the season. Okay? You will stop feeling overwhelmed. The moment you start, do you know that the simple act of decluttering sometimes lets you breathe? You feel like you're brand new. Like bulunji. Like abino bye munaba naba. Newe soge chinabiro, newe isa kamazi. No fuluma. Have you ever taken a time, no uliranga, like yes, you've been bathing, but you take time and you feel like, you know what? You've taken time on your body. I don't know if you people do those things. But there's a way you feel like, even in Tambule, bouncing, muko katono. You feel like, malimu ambadako kunga tempia. Mumla ikate mumanyi. So some of us, what do we want? What do we want? Is there something that you know that if I do this, it decongests my mind? It declutters my mind. Even David says that when I saw the heathens prospering, I felt so bad until I went to the house of God. That is why we say that never give up the spirit of communing, of fellowship, of coming together. Because you might be overwhelmed everywhere, but when you come here, I am not alone. I am not alone, please. We are in this journey. So many of us, we are in this journey. Okay, so I am not dying alone. And I am not going to die alone, okay? You have too much responsibility in this season to be reckless with your heart, okay? And when you talk about the spirit and the soul, I am still dwelling on that a little bit. You realize that when you differentiate and say this is, the spirit is God and the soul is me as a human being, then you learn to take care of yourself, okay? And you learn to take care of your will, your mind, your affections, your emotions, and you take your responsibility as a must. And then number 2, in order to take care of yourself, I want you to build a gate, not a wall, okay? Some of us, because of situations and overwhelm, we have built walls. We build walls. And we don't want, no one can penetrate, no one can enter. Even the one that wants to help you cannot enter. There's a quote that I love that Lavender put up. I love that quote so much. You know this quote, I even don't remember how it goes, but this is how it goes. This is how, I hope I can paraphrase it so well. It says that, stop putting up your fake life on social media, lest the ones that should have helped you are the ones calling you mentor. Hey, I was finished. I was like, you know, we should get done and wrap up with a fake life. You know, while you're up there putting on, Simanya I'm in Dubai, Simanya I'm where, Simanya I bought this, Simanya I do what. Some people, you know, come in the DMs and they're like, my mentor, ochikuba, banango, ochikuba nyo. Kumbe. Some people told me, actually, some people told me that some people go to Dubai and they do a photo shoot of like 100 clothes. When they come back, they release katono. Because you see different clothes the whole year, you think every week they go to Dubai. Kumbe, now I didn't know that. I learned it last week. I think I am analog and I am behind. I learned it last week. Now, as people are calling you, oh, mentor, undetera yo cheap, anange ngo tambula nyokate nyonyi wazifula bugari. Kumbe, next time you will be in a problem, you will go to that person and gamba, mpola ye mitwalo 10 gamba unasiba agende Dubai ate amsabe mitwalo 10. Ogenda okulaba abantu bakumya obuyambi. Why? Because you're putting up a fake life. Okay? So, God, don't put up walls. Okay? When you put a gate is something you can open. When something knocks and you need it, you can open. And let me tell you, this is a season of gates, that whatever is not supposed to be in your life, open the gate for it to get out. And I don't mean bad for anyone, but again, you are not there to please everyone. You are not there to entertain their drama. You are not there. If it's time for them to go, it's time to open the gate. And if it's time for something to enter, if it's time for love to enter, even if you were hurt, give it a chance. Okay? Give it a chance. Instead of a wall, create a gate, because the difference between a wall and a gate is a gate has a door. You can open it or you can lock it. It's in your control. But whoever does not reciprocate, let them vacate. Okay? So you have to be able to put that in your mind. And I know that our time is gone. We are not going to go any further than this. I know that so many questions that we have that we are going to be able to respond to. I have all these teachings. Actually, it's a whole series that I'm going to be teaching. But I'll make sure that we actually get this information, because to me it is medicine to the heart. And then number 2, it shows you how to show up wholesomely. How to show up, because there's a difference between showing up wounded, because when you show up wounded, you end up bleeding in other people's lives. But when you show up wholesome and healed, then you're able to hold other people's hands. Then you're able to hug in peace. Then you're able to open the door and give chances to so many things. You're able to give yourself another chance to grow, another chance for another job, another chance for another relationship. Why? Because you are not overwhelmed. When we talk about standing out, there is no way you can stand out when beneath there is a boiling thing. When there's a boiling overwhelm, there is a cloud underneath you. So I want you to find out, where are you overwhelmed? Is it financially? Is it spiritually? Is it economically? Where are you overwhelmed? Okay? And if you need someone to hold your hand, we are here to hold your hand. When you send me a message and I know I cannot handle you at that moment, I know I have so many mentors. If you're here and you're a mentor, please stand up. If you're here, mentor, please stand up. Mentor coaches, please stand up. I don't see you. Okay? And I'm going to make sure that I take it upon myself to write the biographies of these ladies and gentlemen on my walls and on my social media, so that you can be able to even contact them directly. Okay? So that you can know, because we have so many. She's about relationships. So many happy marriages. When you want to relate better, you go to Coach Zaitun. She's there. When you want to the healing coach, we have Coach Mole. You see, when we have personal growth and company, structuring and disc manager, we have Madame Diana. Angela is here. She's doing personal growth with all her heart. Okay? So make sure that you utilize them. We have a physiotherapist. She's in coaching, but in physiotherapy. And she's doing so well for all the mothers, postnatal, antenatal, for those that want to get back in shape after giving birth. You make sure that you actually go ahead and contact them. Okay? And then Angela, personal growth. Yes, you're also personal growth. Hindu is personal growth as well. So make sure that we have no excuses. If you can't get in touch with me, and of which my lines are open all the time. Okay? But if you can't get in touch with me, you can be able to get in touch with any of these coaches. There are those that are behind. I'm not seeing your faces. Veronica, where are you? Okay, I saw Veronica somewhere. I saw... Veronica is right there. Maya is right there. My goodness. Anita is behind there. We have so many of us. So get in touch with any of these coaches and they will do you good. One thing I know is they are committed to this cause and they are committed to your personal growth. Now, time has cut me short. I could speak for 6 hours because I had a lot prepared today. But I know that we will get more time and we'll make sure some of these things. So prepare your questions. If you don't feel like asking straight, make sure that you write it down. But at this point, help me join your hands as we welcome Mr. Sabiti to come and speak to us.
Spirit TV, a place for you.